When you dropped the bomb, the atomic bomb, almost all the people who were killed were non-combatants, right? So then that ratio would be 250,000 killed to 0. Well, we have 1,400 years of history that either says it does or it doesn't, right? We don't have to watch TikTok videos. And nothing could be clearer than what the words of Muhammad were, the prophet of Islam, who said that you need to rid Arabia of Christians, but certainly the Jews. By the end of my appearing on this 10th time on this show, there wouldn't be a single Palestinian left.
Gang, what's up? Aaron here, Canadian Looney. Get your Canadian federal politics right here. Smash the like, hit subscribe. This video doesn't really need an explanation. Let's jump right into it.
One other point, and then I'll cede the floor back to you. The term genocide, Jacques Derrida was a very famous postmodernist who developed the field of deconstructionism. Language creates reality, right? He was one of the guys who allowed the ecosystem of up is down, men could be women, left is right, slavery is freedom, right? It's that postmodernist game that allows these kind of insane ideas to flourish. Well, when you misuse words like everything is a genocide, that does no one a service. There is no genocide. There is a killing of a lot of people. Again, every single one killed is a tragedy. But if Israel wanted to commit a genocide, by the end of my appearing on this 10th time on this show, there wouldn't be a single Palestinian left. So if they were genocidal in their intent, then they really are shitty genocidal maniacs because, first of all, the population, as you know, of the Palestinian territories has gone up fivefold, right? So that's really sucky genocide. And they've killed, depending on the count.
Right, but that's all previous to this military action that's going on now.
What are the numbers
the
that you know of right now?
It's hard to say. You know, I mean, Israel has one statistic, and then there's other statistics by human rights organizations that it estimate at least 12,000 missing in the rubble that are probably dead and 30,000 dead. Now, at the number of those 30,000, what percentage is Hamas? I'm not sure.
So I've heard the most favorable estimates to the IDF are about 1-to-1 ratio. The less estimate, it's about 1 to 1.5. Okay, 1 to 2, up to 1 to 2. So if they
killed 30,000 people, 15,000 are Hamas. Is that what you're saying?
That would be
best case scenario.
If 1 to 1 would be 15,000 to 15,000, and then you can take it from there, right?
Okay.
So
1 to 1.
1 to 1.
But half of them. So half of them. Yeah. So half of 30 is 15.
Exactly. Okay.
Right.
So now, let's compare it to, and I don't know if others have made this analogy. When you dropped the bomb, the atomic bomb, almost all the people who were killed were non-combatants, right? So then that ratio would be 250,000 killed to 0. I mean, unless there's a few Japanese military guys that were in Nagasaki or Hiroshima, you dropped. And again, I'm not trying to say, oh, but they're not as bad as these other guys, so they're okay. Let's give them a ribbon and a medal. But again, it is anti-Semitic when you place one group of people to a standard of morality that is not expected of anybody else. So, for example, if you really care about Arab lives, then you certainly should care about all of the Yemenis that have been killed, that are a lot more than whatever's happened after October 7th. You would care about the 500,000 Syrians that were killed. You would care about the war between Iran and Iraq that led to several million killed. And how about a Lebanese civil war? 150,000 died in a very small...
Right, but that's not happening currently, so people aren't totally aware of that. Like, just those statistics that you brought up, the Lebanese deaths, just most people are not aware of that. Most people that are discussing this, especially college kids, are not aware of that.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, I mean, it's all ugly. It's all awful. There's nothing that you could say that is in any way, shape, or form positive about any of this.
Yeah.
The question is there another way to do it other than just bombing these areas where you know Hamas is and civilians?
There is another way, but I don't think it'll happen. Can I share it?
Yeah.
So Golda Meir, who was the 4th or 5th Prime Minister of Israel from, I think, 1969 to 1974, has two quotes, which I'm going to paraphrase. I don't have the exact quote. She said, if the Jews put down their arms, there'll be a genocide. If the Palestinians put down their arms, there'll be peace. So just remember that for a second. Second one is, if the Arabs, and she means in this case the Palestinian Arabs, if they were to love their children more than they hate ours, then there'd be peace. So why am I saying these two quotes? Because this battle is really not about land. And in a sense, we've already addressed this on previous shows where I've come and discussed about some of these Islamic issues. It is an existential affront that the Jewish state exists in the Middle East. So look at all other religious minorities across Arabia. Egypt used to be completely Coptic Christian, 100%, many hundred years ago. Today, there are 10% Copts left. What happened to those Copts? There used to be tons of Christians in Syria. What happened to those Syrians? There used to be tons of Christians in Lebanon. There still are some, about 35%, but Lebanon used to be a majority Christian country. So the goal of Islam, not individual Muslims, right? Again, I don't need to preface by saying there are millions and millions of lovely, kind, peaceful Muslims. Of course there is. But Islam as an ideology, does it tolerate others? Well, we have 1,400 years of history that either says it does or it doesn't, right? We don't have to watch TikTok videos. And nothing could be clearer than what the words of Muhammad were, the prophet of Islam, who said,
just a reminder, gang, smash the like, hit subscribe. We work really hard at this stuff. Let's get back to the video.
That you need to rid Arabia of Christians, but certainly the Jews. So the existence of the land of Israel is an affront to that. One more point, and I'll cede the floor back to you. In Islam, there's a concept called Dar al-Islam and Dar al-Harb. That means the house of Islam and the house of war. Anything that's under the Islamic control is good. Anything that's yet to be under Islamic control is under the house of war. Once a territory is under Islamic control and you lose it, you have to get it back. It is your dominion forever. This is why, for example, Andalusia, which was at one point controlled, which is in current Spain, which was controlled by the Moors, an Islamic conquistador, a lot of jihadists will say, inshallah, we have to reconquer Andalusia. It is our land, because once it's under. So Israel existentially cannot exist. So why am I saying all this? You can't have peace if you have the other side that truly never wants for you to exist. That's the bottom line. If you can change people's heart where they say, look, I get a piece of land, you get another piece, let's build an incredible, vibrant co-society together, you'd have peace. But if you're taught from straight out of the womb that the Jews is the reason for every calamity in the world, you're not going to have peace.
But don't you think that there are Jews and there are Israelis that treat Palestinians as if they're less?
There is that in Texas in terms of treating people who are Hispanic. The darkness of the human heart is not monopolized by one group. There are super nasty Jews and there are incredibly lovely and kind Jews. There are super nice Muslims and incredibly brutal Muslims. So there is no monopoly on the darkness of the human heart. So I concede that. Of course, there are Jews that are not very keen on having Palestinian neighbors. But as someone who grew up in the two worlds, right, I'm an Arabic-speaking Jew. I hang around with tons of Muslims. I hang around with tons of Jews. Have I ever heard somebody in my Jewish family say, oh God, I can't wait for us to eradicate the 1.52 billion Muslims in the world? I've never heard that. Have I heard incessantly all the time about, inshallah, we'll get rid of the Jews? Every second. You just have to say, hi, Ahmad. The next line is, God damn it, we got to get rid of the Jews. Now, it's become a lot.
Is it really that common where you are?
It's as common as the heat in Texas. It is definitional. As a matter of fact, I introduced a game, I mean facetiously, but I mean it seriously, 6 Degrees of Jew. So that's a play on 6 degrees of...
Kevin
right?
Bacon.
Exactly. So I give you a calamity in the world, and you've got up to 6 causal steps to blame the Jew. So an Amazonian frog just died in the Amazon. Go. And so I will post these on Twitter and people give answers.
Right.
Now, oftentimes they're just playing along, but that's the mindset. You got diabetes? Well, that's because the Jews who are controlling the pharmaceutical industry are not releasing the drug. I'll give you a recent one that I faced.
Okay.
So I put up a police lineup of some guys that had been caught in Huddersfield, which is a town in England, who had been grooming and raping young British white girls. And you may or may not know this. I'm not sure if we've discussed it in the past. In Britain, over the past 25 years, there's been an unbelievable industrial scale level grooming and raping of young white girls by Asian men. That's a euphemism for men of a certain religious heritage, but you say they're Asian. So their names are, let me summarize them for you. Muhammad, Ahmad, Muhammad, Ahmad, Muhammad, 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 Ahmad, Ahmad, Muhammad, Ahmad, Ahmad, Muhammad, Ahmad, Muhammad. Okay? So I put those up and I sarcastically said, I don't have a big enough brain to do the big data analytics to understand what is the commonality across all those gentlemen. Could anybody help me? Do you know how many people wrote to me and blamed it on the Jews? Not facetiously. So now I'm going to ask you, Joe.
How?
I was just going to ask you that. How is it when 3 Muhammads rape your 12-year-old British girl, you blame it on Mordechai? 3 Muhammads lead to Mordechai. Tell me how. You tell me.
I don't know. How did they do it?
Who let them in? It's the Jewish cabal who controls immigration policy. It's George Soros, the Jew, who controls the open society ideology.
I don't think you could really just connect George Soros to Jewish if you look at his policies. He seems anti-Western civilization.
I agree, but for the Jew hater, any causal explanation.
So one individual who just happens to be Jewish,
or they point to some other one. There's one I don't even know who she is. I think Barbara Lerner or something. Somebody will correct us in the comments section, where they show her saying something. Oh, we need to flood, and she happens to be Jewish. But for every Jewish person who is pro open door policy, there's a counter Jewish person. Here's one who is not for open border policies, right? Stephen Miller, who worked in the Trump administration, is Jewish. He's probably the biggest anti-open door immigration. So, but that's the mindset of the Jew hater. Everything is blamed. There's this incredible diabolical feature of the Jew that they're able to at times pretend that they're victims, but really they're diabolical and genocidal. It's grotesque, man.
Everyone has an opinion about Canadian federal politics. My name's Aaron. This is Canadian Looney. We're going to wrap it up. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a comment below. Check out this playlist. Check out this video. Thank you all so much for watching. Smash the like, hit subscribe. Aaron at Canadian Looney. Ciao for now. We'll catch you in the next one. Thanks again for watching. We're out.